Alright, time to finally talk about some She-Hulk since the season just wrapped up on Disney+. But before I do, I'm going to give you a spoiler warning. I will be talking about the entire season, including the finale, so if you've watched the entire season or you don't care, you can stick around and watch here. Alright, let's do it. She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. So She-Hulk, Attorney at Law is the 6th series in the Marvel Cinematic Universe's Phase 4, is the 13th installment overall in Phase 4, and regarding the MCU as a whole, it's the 36th title. That's a lot. So She-Hulk, Attorney at Law introduces Jennifer Walters into the MCU. She's played by Tatiana Maslany. She's Bruce Banner's cousin, she's a lawyer, she lives in Los Angeles. One day she's driving with Bruce, she gets in a car accident, some of his blood gets into hers, so now she can become a big green raging Hulk as well. Except she doesn't have an alter ego to deal with, she's Jen all the time. So now she's trying to balance life as a lawyer, as a Hulk. She's just kind of going through life. She breaks the fourth wall, meaning she knows this is a TV show. She talks to us, the audience, sometimes in some really funny and clever ways. Like seriously, props to some of these jokes. And actually, I really like the pilot, because Bruce Banner, as Smart Hulk, is like, no, now you have to learn what it means to be a Hulk, meaning you gotta stay here with me for a while. And Jen is like, no, I have a life, I gotta get back to that. And so the two of them eventually have a fight. That, I'll admit, was pretty entertaining, seeing Hulk versus She-Hulk. Although I'll admit, I thought Hulk was going to be like a main character in the series, but it turns out no, he's only in like a couple episodes. Granted, his story is one of the most intriguing in the entire show, I'll get to that in the finale. I'm just saying I was expecting to see more of him. So now Jennifer Walters works at GLK&H, which is this really prestigious law firm in LA. She's the head of the firm's new superhuman law division, so now she takes on cases that have to do with super people. Which I'll admit, compared to other MCU series, this one feels more episodic. Like throughout the middle of the series, she goes from case to case, and sometimes she's dealing with her own shit and her friends are dealing with a case. Which I will say, there are a couple of characters that I like here. Her friend Nikki is really fun. She is your typical, best friend supporting character, but what can I say, she's good at it. She has spunk. Mr. Holloway is Jen Walters' boss, and you can tell he's the kind who doesn't really care about her well-being. Which I will say, you can definitely tell from the writing that this show was written by women, for women mostly, just by the amount of guys in the show who are creeps. I mean, there'll be scenes where Jen and Nikki are approached by some random guy and he comes onto them and I just want to be like, dude, are you freaking serious? What the hell's the matter with you? See, it's guys like that who give men a bad name. I'm just saying. But anyway, we do get some returning MCU characters here. Tim Roth returns as Emil Blonsky, the Abomination. Wong is back as well. And actually, we do learn what they were doing fighting in that scene in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. We learn that now that Wong is Sorcerer Supreme, he actually sought out Abomination to be like an opponent for his training. To which I was like, alright, we have an answer. And I love the fact that that ties in like 3 or 4 titles at once. What, Spider-Man No Way Home, Multiverse of Madness, Shang-Chi, now She-Hulk? Yeah, that's awesome. And of course, it's always nice to see Wong again. Like I said, this really is Phase Wong, because he's been getting around. Although that drunk chick Madison? No. We also meet Luke Jacobson, who's pretty much like Edna Mode. He designs outfits for superheroes, and he's all showboaty about it. At first when I met him, I was like, alright, this guy's a douche. I mean, he's one of those fashion designer types who's overly flamboyant, like the Baroness in Cruella or something. And at first I was like, alright, that's kind of funny. They even had that tease of Daredevil's helmet, to which I was like, yee! But then later on, when Jen Walters comes in and she's like, alright, you might have made one little mistake with one of the outfits you made. And he's all like,
excuse me.
I was like, okay, I don't like you. Because you're an ass. Yeah, I'll just say it. Uppity fashion designers are just unlikable people. And I'll say, the next couple episodes, I actually did not think they were all that great. I mean, the show was enjoyable so far, and then you tease Daredevil at the end of episode 5. And so we fans are like, alright, let's get Daredevil up in this. And then not only does he not show up for the next 2 episodes, but these episodes are just, they're poorly written, I thought. Like, yeah, I get they're supposed to be more lighthearted. Like, you have the wedding episode. That was the low point, I think, here. Titania comes into play. Man, she was annoying, and I get that she's supposed to be annoying, so job well done there. Congratulations, Jamila Jamil. You've annoyed me as Titania. You want a medal? Finally, after waiting for far too long, we get to episode 8. In which we finally do get Daredevil. And yeah, Daredevil is a straight up badass. I love seeing Charlie Cox back as Matt Murdock. He's here in LA working on a case. We actually first see him as Jen's opposition. So we get to see what they're like in the courtroom. And man, they are really just going at it, and he actually beats her. I was like, oh man, Murdock don't play. And then later on, he shows up as the Devil of Hell's Kitchen. And it's awesome. I do like the red and yellow suit. I think it looks pretty cool. Not as cool as the all-red one, in my opinion. But still awesome, man. He's blind and he kicks ass. He and She-Hulk are infiltrating that one lair of that frog dude. And I love the fact that Daredevil's first action scene in the MCU proper is a throwback to the most famous action scene from his Netflix series, the one in the hallway. Because this fight is in a hallway. And he's just going to town on these henchgoons, man, using his billy clubs. I love those billy clubs. The way he can hear people's heartbeats, I'm like, yep, that is Daredevil. And of course, he's not going to leave this episode without getting some She-Hulk tail. Yeah, they hook up. I actually like that. I was like, all right, they went there. Good for him, good for her. My question is, are they dating now, or are they exclusive? That's my question. I don't know. I guess we'll see later, somewhere. But yeah, good episode. Which then goes into the finale, which, okay, this was nuts. So throughout the series, we've been seeing this kind of dark web group called Intelligentsia. They're a group of haters against She-Hulk, which to me really represents social media backlash, which honestly I see as the entire point of the show. I'll get to that when I get to the conclusion. But we're back at Emil Blonsky's retreat. We learned that one Todd creep is the leader of the Intelligentsia. And he's like, you were given your powers, I had to earn them, and he becomes a Hulk himself. I was like, alright, we're really doing this again? And then shit hits the fan. We got Abomination, Titania shows up, Hulk shows up, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? And even Jen breaks the fourth wall. She's like, this is a mess. Is this working for you? But then right there, it cuts. And warning, what I'm about to talk about, if you don't know, might just break your mind. I'm just saying, this shit's insane. Alright, you've been warned, here we go. We then see the Disney Plus Marvel selection screen, and She-Hulk's like, this ain't working for me, alright. Let me just go down into Marvel Assembled, here we go. And so She-Hulk ends up on the Disney backlot in Burbank, and I'm sitting there watching this last night like, oh my god, alright, you're going all Blazing Saddles on us? Cause spoiler alert for Blazing Saddles, which has one of the best endings I think I've ever seen in a movie. It does the same thing. It's one storyline, and then it reveals that it's been on a movie set the whole time. And I was like, that is genius. And so She-Hulk pretty much does the same thing here. She ends up on the Disney backlot, and she goes into Marvel Studios, and she sees the writers, and she's like, what the hell? And I'm like, this is nuts. I was dying laughing. It was so funny. And then the writers are like, this is the storyline that Kevin wants. I was like, Kevin Feige? Are we actually going to get a cameo from Lord Feige himself, the president of Marvel Studios? And so She-Hulk goes in to see Kevin, and she ends up in this room where this GLaDOS-like robot comes down, and yeah, they pretty much turn Kevin Feige into GLaDOS from Portal. I was like, oh my god, this is pretty much how the internet sees Kevin Feige, really. Complete with the little baseball cap that he wears all the time. That was a great touch. And Jennifer Walters is like, alright, let's change my ending. We're gonna change this and this and this, and I was like, okay, that's kind of a cheap way to do it, but it's so damn funny. So they get rid of the Todd plot. They change Emil Blonsky back from Abomination into his regular self. They bring Daredevil back. And of course, they throw in a couple of winks and nods where she's like, when are we getting X-Men? Even the fact that Kev Dose is like, you have to change when the camera's off of you because we have a visual effects budget. You're an expensive character. I was like, that is genius. I mean, granted, the CG in the entire show is not really up to par with most MCU stuff that we've seen. But hey, at least they made a funny joke out of it. One that actually worked. So props to that. And so, it all works out. And all the problems are resolved because Jennifer Walters broke the fourth wall and went to Marvel Studios and fixed it. Basically what Deadpool did in Deadpool 2. Kinda sorta. Although a couple of things are left open. I mean, Hulk comes back and now all of a sudden he has a son, Scar? Hello. Alright, I've heard of that character before, but I don't know the first thing about him. I will say though that there are some hints in this finale that hint towards we might be getting some Planet Hulk or World War Hulk somewhere in Phase 6, which would be pretty cool, yeah. Just add that to the list of crazy titles that Phase 6 should have, along with Midnight Suns. Which, speaking of, in the mid-credits scene of the finale, Emil Blonsky is back in prison when he is freed once again by Wong. And I was like, oh, Wong, come on, I thought you were a good guy. You're freeing Blonsky again? I mean, for the first time, I get it. And you took responsibility for it, but now again? No, man, what's your excuse this time? I don't know, but maybe that could lead to Abomination maybe being a villain in Midnight Suns? One of the villains? The villain? Who knows? Again, I'm just thinking out loud right now. I don't know what they're gonna do. But I am intrigued. Alright, so, in conclusion, She-Hulk Attorney at Law. I really see the point of this show being social media backlash. Which I love the way they addressed it and just faced it head on. Because they knew, they were like, yeah, people are gonna give this unwarranted hate. They're gonna call She-Hulk derivative, even though she's been around for decades. They're gonna give it all sorts of invalid arguments. Let's address that. That was great. There were some episodes that I felt were lacking, like the middle of the season. Those couple episodes, yeah, that was the low point. There were some characters I didn't like, some subplots I was like, alright, we didn't need that. But when the show was good, it was pretty good. What can I say? I like the beginning of the show, and I love the end. Daredevil, of course, is awesome. Can't wait to see him again. And I'm wondering where She-Hulk will pop up again. I guess we'll see. As for the score, I thought it was okay. Pretty basic superhero-sounding score. I don't think I'm gonna get it. Then again, not bad. I might remember the theme. Maybe. I don't know. So, She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. Have you watched the entire season yet? What are your thoughts on it? What'd you think of that crazy finale? Seriously, dude, my head is still reeling. Where do you think we might go in the future with She-Hulk, or Scar, or Wong and Abomination? Where do you think that might go? What are your theories? Whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. And of course, thank you for subscribing. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm off to go see Halloween Ends. Hopefully it'll be less boring than the last movie. Peace!